All right, let's see. Whoop. Already got some folks popping on board. Very quickly too. Yay.
Do we? Okay.
Oh, we got Lonnie. Lonnie, you made it. Yes. I grabbed Lonnie about an hour ago. And I told him to sign up. Yes, Lonnie is a new Cosi Talks viewer, so he's getting dragged into this. There we go.
All right. Tom's on. Hello. All right.
Hey guys. Oh my gosh.
Welcome on.
Mr. Tom. Tom, man, it is good to see your name. I haven't seen you here in a while.
It is.
You have to be shy tonight, Tom. You got to chat with me. Hey, Ashley.
Gosh, welcome everybody coming on.
Lonnie, all right. Yay, Lonnie, I'm so glad you found the, good. So Lonnie, can I brag about you a little bit? Do I have permission to brag about you? 100%. All right. So he has been working hard learning how to walk, and he just sent me a video today above the knee where he stands up from his chair and look, Ma, no hands. Start to take those first steps without a walker, without holding on to anything.
Awesome.
Thank you for sending me that video, Lonnie. Hey, we got Liz from California. How you doing? We got Glenda. Tom, you still haven't said hello to me yet. I think I scared him away. Awesome. Hey, there he is. Howdy, Tom.
There he is.
We got Sophia on board.
Good.
Beth. Oh, hey, Beth.
All right. Listen.
You can make it.
Welcome, everybody.
You got a nice crew tonight. Woohoo.
Walter. I know. Everybody, come on. Welcome.
Violent storms right now in Texas. Really?
Wow. Yeah. A friend of mine's down cycling in Fort Hood right now, and he said it looks pretty nice, but that changes pretty quickly.
Any tornado watches, Tom? Oh. No sound. What are you doing wrong? Susan, go to your go to the bottom of the screen, and you'll see hopefully a little icon that says audio or a microphone icon. Just see if you can find that. Tom says, if I drop out, it's nothing you said. Well, thank you for letting us know, Tom, because, you know, I stick my foot in my mouth a lot. So.
Arch hail. Oh, boy. Oh, that's good. Dayton, Ohio. All right. Welcome.
Wow. All right. We're going to give you another minute. Let folks jump on board.
How's the weather in Florida, Cosi?
Hot and sticky.
It's hot.
It's in the 90s.
90? Wow. Oh my gosh. Getting there. It's summer. It's summer for sure.
Basically, it's summer here because my hair just
all that good moisture in the air, right?
Oh yeah, it's wonderful. Nothing like Colorado, right?
We've got wonderful Florida weather in Mexico right now. There's like some tropical storm, so definitely Florida-esque, like 90% humidity.
Right now it is, Chris? Oh, wow. Good thing for air conditioning.
Yeah, a little toasty for a princess.
Yeah, for sure.
I was like, what about Colorado? Is it still that beautiful, even?
It's been, we had a big rainstorm yesterday, and today it's clearing out. So it's currently it's gorgeous outside. It's just fantastic. So can't complain. No complaints over here. So just move it into summertime.
Okay, so right on. I'm going to get started. Does that sound okay?
Let's do it.
Okay, so good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for attending our liners, sleeves, and suspension webinar. I'm Chris Erbacher with Vital Fit, and our two fabulous co-hosts here. Before I introduce them, I just want to mention a couple things. We are committed to making sure we get to all your questions, so please put those in the chat box. And we've got a few giveaways as well, which will be super fun. But don't worry if you don't win. We do have a great code at the end of the presentation. So our fabulous folks, Cosi Bioso, master's in physical therapy. She specializes in individuals with limb loss. She's got a clinic in Florida. She's been in practice for over 17 years. Also a fabulous show, Facebook Live every week, and we're going to give you that information at the end. So go Cosi Talks and welcome.
Hey, Cosi.
Thank you guys for having me on board this evening. Thank you. Love doing the show. But you know, real stars over here. We need that.
That
There.
that way. Uh, Also with us this evening is Greg Menino. He's a certified practitioner. He's been in the industry for over 20 years doing R&D and as a clinical specialist for many manufacturers. He's also above the knee amputee and has medaled 22 times in the Olympics and Paralympics and downhill alpine skiing. Welcome, Greg.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Thank you, Cosi. It's great to be here. Thanks to Vital Fit for putting on these webinars. So they're fantastic, and hopefully we can help some people and spread information, and to be able to do it with Cosi right there, I'm pointing the right way. It's just a dream. So thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right, guys. So Ashley, I love that random question, and it's gonna fit in perfectly with tonight's talk. But I'm gonna save that question. Can you save that question, Ashley? We're gonna answer it in a little bit later in the talk. Susan, yes, I think everybody else still has sound. Susan, do you see the microphone sound option on the bottom part of your screen? You gotta kind of run your mouse over it, and you should hopefully see it. If not, check the settings of your computer. Sometimes the internal microphone and audio is turned off. But guys, we got a huge talk, and I'm learning so much already just in prepping for this talk, learning so much from my co-host here, Greg, about all things liners and sleeves. So it's going to be a great talk, lots of great information. Uh-oh, a couple people don't have microphone.
Are they Facebook folks?
No microphone here, Carol Beaker. Sound is perfect, Tom.
Okay.
Yeah, make sure your mute button's not on.
Volume on your computer only
Everyone
because
check
I've
it
done that more than once.
Right.
Throwing that out there. I've done
Right there, back
Right.
up. Hello, Johnny. You're on board.
Here's Johnny.
Hi, Johnny.
All right, guys.
Okay, we got a lot to talk about here. Let's move.
Greg, go ahead.
Okay, welcome everybody. And I think we're going to go over some subjects. And I think the basis for our conversation is to look at the liners that are out there, look at some of the suspension sleeves and alternate function for keeping your prosthesis on. Coming in the summer right now, I've talked to a lot of patients daily and have a lot of contact. The biggest problem what people are concerned with and having and experiencing is perspiration. And I think, Cosi, we should do a poll. How many people are experiencing at this time of year heightened perspiration in their sockets? So I'm going to raise my hand, and I think that we can talk about there's manufacturers now addressing it, trying to address this issue that we all experience every day by making liners, different types of liners out there that breathe better and reduce our body temperatures. So, but I think that's kind of where I was thinking and going with the talk. So we're going to highlight on not all liners, but some of the current and later technologies. So,
Okay. So guys, don't be shy. Stick it into the chat session, raise your hand. Just, are you having problems with sweat in the liner? Like that's a problem, and you've been trying different liners and just to figure out what would work. So we're just going to go because we got a lot to talk about tonight. So I'm just going to briefly mention the three main types of liner materials. A lot of times when we hear about all the different liners out there, it can get a little confusing because manufacturers will put their own names on it. So it's kind of hard to figure out, okay, what kind of a liner is it that I'm wearing? What's the material? What's the difference? And which one is the best one I should be looking for? Okay. So there's three types. There's the silicone liner, a gel liner that's sometimes also referred to as the thermoplastic elastomer, TPE. You might see that abbreviation, and the polyurethane liner. The silicone liner, I like to call it the first line of defense. That's usually the one that most amputees will receive. It's durable. It's relatively good for folks with sensitive skin. And it's like I said, it will keep up with an active individual. With the gel liner, I call that the Cadillac of liner materials. It's a nice, cushy ride. It's meant for folks who maybe don't have quite as high an activity level, okay? So again, a little bit more protection there. And then you have your polyurethane liners. With your polyurethane liners, those are definitely custom made. Those are meant for people who have more problematic skin. So people who have skin grafts that blister up in an instant. People, especially my below the knee amputees who have bony prominences. So very, very slim folks who the tibia, that shin bone just keeps sticking up and it provides, causes a lot of problems. The polyurethane liner is meant to kind of shuttle away pressure from these hot spots. So those are your three basic types of liner materials: silicone, gel, and polyurethane. Okay, we're going to focus tonight's talk mainly on the silicone and gel liners because that's what the majority, I don't know what the percentage would be, but that's what the majority of you will be using.
Okay, and we've got a great slide that Paul is going to throw up as we discuss the challenges of perspiration. This slide, I think, does an excellent job. Next slide, Paul, sorry. Next slide. Yeah, there we go.
Back one. Oh, did we miss it? Okay.
No, there it is. That's our fabulous slide, which talks about all the challenges that individuals face within moisture in the socket.
Right. Okay. So I can touch on this one. Thanks to Blatchford. Mike at Blatchford shared this slide with me. And this is really, if you look at this slide, it's what everyone experiences and most of the complaints. But it's pretty interesting if you really, for everybody attending, look at the slide because the increased temperatures, the summer coming, increased sweat, perspiration, increased relative movement in your liner, pistoning, chafing, all the reduced ground clearance, all these are all things that happen when you start sweating your liner. And it happens to me. Probably the one thing they're missing is rotation because as a transfemoral wear, that's what I hear a lot of patients complain about, and I experience it too. You'll start getting some rotation of that prosthesis on your residual limbs. So it's a fantastic slide. I really think that it hits home for everybody. And when you start losing suction or losing proprioception and you're increasing your energy and it's, gait deviations come in. These are, and I don't know if anybody could raise their hand. These are all things that I actually see and experience when I start getting excessive perspiration in my socket. Now, Cosi, what's your take on that?
No, that's exactly it. Usually when people, the first issue that people have is there's something in my socket's not comfortable. And in Florida, it's going to be related to sweat. And my patients will come in and they'll just say, I can't stop sweating. And then because I'm sweating, then this liner keeps shifting around on me. I'm getting a blister, I'm getting a heat rash. And then they're moving up and down, and because they're trying to prevent it from sliding on their leg, then they start doing funky things with the leg to prevent that from happening. And it's exactly this little vicious cycle right here. And that's one of those things where, okay, we got to go through the checklist and see how we can troubleshoot to help with this.
Right. So when you look at this, Blatchford themselves, their technology, they went into developing their own liner to address this, which we're going to get into, which is really, I know it's Cosi's favorite.
I know it is. I have a personal favorite there.
Yeah.
Yep. And I think with the next slide, are we ready for the next slide, Greg?
Yeah, we should throw it up there because we got a lot to talk about.
All right.
Now, what Cosi was talking about, the differences in materials, and we're here to tell you that what's out there, and you can talk to your prosthetist. Some of these OWW liners that either silicone or TPE, these are kind of the properties there are. I like them because you get these with fabric or without fabric, depending if that patient's working in dirty environments. You know how you can get stuff on our liners. So, but if you look at it, their Smart Temp gel, the TPE, actually dissipates heat, and they talk about 2 degrees of body temperature is reduced from these type of liners in this material. So that's really pretty interesting. And you may say 1 or 2 degrees isn't a tremendous amount, but it really is when you look at the big scheme of things. So.
No, I've had patients who had just a regular plain Jane liner, and they tried one of these, either the Smart Temp or there's another one that, of course, I'm forgetting the name about it. And they said the minute that it was put onto their skin, they noticed that it was a different, right there.
Good. So again, the silicone liner will soften up a little bit. The TPE is always kind of soft, and it just will dissipate heat. So really interesting liners. And again, as I said earlier, we have manufacturers addressing these perspiration issues that we all experience, especially coming in the summer, depending where we live, depending on our activity. And that's where the liquid powder from VitalFit is just amazing, in my opinion. So.
Yeah, and it's going to go into play with the following slide, actually.
Right.
Well, following slide, but yeah, this one.
Yeah. So real quick, it's the next slide. But again, some of the things I threw in this slide too, silicone or gel in this Smart Temp. So They offer it in both materials, which is kind of interesting. And again, 2 degrees of body temperature and all their testing has been of the reduction in just the liner. So that's kind of cool. And they're suitable for all activities. So if you're a runner or you're a new amputee, we can go across the board, suction, pin, you know, they all offer all that, but pretty neat liners. So, but the next liner I know is somebody's favorite. So.
Yeah, I'm kind of a big fan. Guys, because basically you can pour water into this and you just see all the water coming out of these I think it's laser cut pinholes, like super, super tiny, tiny, tiny holes. And you just see the water coming out. So you just envision as a therapist, you're like, wow, all that sweat is just exiting stage left with this liner. But I will admit there are a couple limitations with this liner. The primary one being that the socket has to be built specifically to this liner. And Greg, you're the prosthetist, so I'm going to let you.
Well, yeah, you've got to manufacture it with an expulsion valve, and it requires to wear a suspension sleeve with this liner as well. But I actually have not even held one, but the idea of it really is neat. I watched all their PowerPoints from Mike, and I think they've really got something here. Anytime you can allow your residual limb to breathe in these environments that the sockets create, I think we've got something really special. So I like to see that these 2 different liners we're talking about right here are addressing these issues of perspiration and your residual limb encapsulated in plastic. And I think that's just fantastic that because we all live this, and if you never wore prostheses, I think you don't understand. It's like, I think somebody one time on one of our casts, Cosi, said it's like putting rubber pants on underwear. So
I work a garbage bag all day long. I'm like, that's
right.
the thing I can relate to with if I tied a garbage bag on my leg, and that's what it would feel like all day.
Yeah, so this needs to be manufactured with an expulsion valve. It's no big deal. If you're getting a new prosthesis built, you can talk to your prosthetist about getting the breathe liner. You'll have to wear suspension sleeves, so be aware if you have any problems with pressure on your patella or anything like that. There's gonna be a little bit of added pressure with the sleeve, depending on how snug we are. So I think it's neat. I think the Smart Temp liners are pretty neat too, because you can retro those to your current prostheses. And you can turn those around and wear them backwards too, so they last quite a bit. So as you can say, you can rotate them, and I really love that kind of concept thinking too. So we all know if we punch a hole, if we're wearing vacuum, and we punch a hole in let's say one of the Smart Temp liners, there's ways to repair that we could be, having suspension issues, obviously. So, and I'm not really sure if the Breathe liner, because it's such a new product. If you punch another hole in it, if you're going to lose suction, I can't imagine you are, because it's already got these laser cut holes. So,
yeah,
right.
We need to try Mike on board and have him answer that question for us.
Yeah, is anybody watching? That's a poll we should do, because is anybody wearing a Breathe liner or Smart Temp liner? We're kind of highlighting on these 2, trust me, because again, like I'm going to keep saying it, I'm just intrigued that manufacturers are identifying the issues that we experience daily.
That'd be good to hear.
Yeah. So raise your hand, everybody, if you can. So.
Actually, guys, if you know the name of your liner, period, even if it's not one that we've mentioned this evening, what liner do you wear? Okay, Carol says I'm wearing the Willowwood Smart Temp liner.
Okay, cool.
Carol, did you ever, I'm going to put you on the spot, Carol. Did you ever use another liner prior to that, or have you always used it? And you'll probably know where I'm going with that question.
I'm reading the.
Yeah. And Ashley, I haven't forgotten your question, darling. Glenda says Willowwood as well. Okay.
Right. So there's Willowwood, yep.
Willowwood, yep. All right, so we got a couple.
Well, yeah, we've got some users where there was the.
Oh, the POA. Yeah, sometimes you'll have some of the prosthetists that make their own proprietary formula of liners. Yep.
So
Where's Oser? So Carol says, yes, I used a regular Willowwood liner. Huge difference in temperature control. Good. That was going to be my follow-up question, Carol. That, did you notice a difference when you moved from one to the upper? So that would be a yes. Liz says the Ice Ross Dermo. Lonnie is wearing the Willowwood Alpha Hybrid. So yeah, it's definitely a very, very select couple of brands there with liners that work.
Right. Well, I think, what's interesting is all the liners today are pretty darn good. There's so many different ones. There's the Genesis, we're going to talk about that. There's the WWs, the Uniprocs, and it's neat to see people wearing some of the liners we're talking about. There, Walter's wearing a Smart Temp TPE gel liner. So again, going into summer, but what's the biggest thing we all experience? Perspiration. It's increased in the summer, and I'm going to keep hammering on Chris here. I can't stop talking about the liquid to powder and how we can control the environment in the socket with this product. So pretty interesting. So Walter raised his hand. I see a Walter.
Walter says he's using the Smart Temp TPE gel, the thermoplastic elastomer. So Susan asked, if any of these would work with the POA socket? So theoretically, Susan, well, the Silicone Breathe liner, as Greg mentioned, that is the one drawback, is that it has to have a special socket kind of built around it. But for the most part, these liners would work with your current socket. Greg, correct me?
Yeah, that is correct. It should be no problem if you've got suction suspension or sleeve suspension with if Stan's doing your stuff down there. I think absolutely any of the liners we're talking about, less the Breathe. The Breathe needs its own manufacturing technique. So,
usually with that, guys, because of the fact, even though I really love the Silcare, I definitely try to be considerate with if I'm working with a prosthetist and a patient, that if the prosthetist just made a fresh new socket, I'm not going to go tell the patient, go ask for the Silcare.
Right.
Socket made, and try to see if there's another temperature friendly liner that they can try out in the meantime, because there really are a lot of great options out there on the market right now compared to even just 5 years ago, Greg.
Oh yeah, absolutely. The innovations are amazing. That there's a lot of people making their own liners. We're going to talk about that a little bit, but the top manufacturers are making such great stuff. And our intent here isn't to throw anybody under the bus. Everything's pretty good, but again, keeping your liner clean, and I'm going to roll back that direction, that we all have these very high-tech devices, and your prosthetists nationally are such great trained people today. I just see so much great work coming out. It's to you, the patient wearing this prosthesis, to keep it clean, keep up on your hygiene, control the moisture, and VitalFit does that. So there's so many stuff. So I don't want anybody to think that we're saying one thing is the best and you make you feel like, oh, I need to get fat. But these are options that are kind of the latest technologies. So.
Excellent, Greg. So I'm going to cut in because it's time for a giveaway. All right. If everyone would look at the chat box, our first giveaway is for a travel kit from VitalFit. It's got all of the 4 products in there, a nice generous size. So please look for the link, and we're going to pick a name from the individuals that participate. If you would type in the name of the first blog that you see. So we're going to give you a second to do that. So name of the first blog, we'll pick a winner.
Okay. Quick. Somebody's quick.
Who's the quick draw McGraw tonight?
Yeah.
Watch, it's gonna be Ashley.
Well, actually, did I say that first? No. So no, Ashley's so quick that we actually had to change how we did everything. Because, they were like cleaning house. So now to the first person, we actually so Jamie at home, she's putting the names in, and she's gonna draw a winner. So we just thought we'd cut everybody else a break.
Ashley, girl, I love
gonna be Ashley. I'm just saying.
Good. Saying. Awesome. I see some Cortland's getting a new measure for a new socket and measured recently. Thursday you will be. So that's great. I think that's you can request something which your process is probably aware of all these latest innovations. So talk to them about it. That's what we're here tonight, to show you what's out there. Google's a great thing. Google latest innovations in liners. I like some of the other posts coming up. How do you care for delicate skin?
Yep, so, that's the answer to the.
That's the blog, baby.
Yeah. Oh, it is. I'm like, hey, well, Cosi, tell her. I'm like, oh, first thing you do.
I was gonna let you go with it, but I was like, no, let me cool it. Sorry, Greg.
I'm never going to that one down. All right. Yeah, good. Well, there's some Good stuff going on there. Let me know when you.
Right.
All right, and our lucky winner is Fernando. Congratulations, Fernando. A huge favor. At the end, you're going to see a slide. Take a picture or write down my email address or phone number, what have you, and get us your address, and we'll ship that out to you. Thank you so much for everyone for participating.
Awesome.
Really good stuff. And guys, I can't say nice things about these products. I mean, again, Florida resident here. So when my patients start talking about sweat, you know, I have to be blunt and say, we're never going to be able to get rid of sweat completely. That's just not a possibility. That's how our bodies release the temperature from our bodies, right? But we can certainly reduce it and manage it. And I think the combination, for me, the best combination is when you have some form of liner that's meant to either wick away sweat like the Silk Hair or bring the temperature down in combination with these products. And I think when you put both of those together, you get a lot healthier skin, reduced sweat and complications from that, and hopefully a little less frustration in your daily wear.
So I see some people put in there, they're wearing the Ice Ross liner as well. So I think our next slide is another Ice Ross liner. So this is another option that anybody wearing this one. I kind of like these X liners. They're kind of interesting that you can add this, the rings, depending on activity and what you're doing, and depending on the size, if you have any daily reduction or you know, dehydration going on. So I've seen some great stuff with this liner, and so this is not designed to control sweat. They're not doing that, but yeah, well, it's probably in the making. But this is another neat liner. So I just wanted to throw it in, spread the love around, because I see people are wearing the Ice Ross liners, and they're great. They're durable, and that's one thing about these three liners that we're talking about. And, you know, as a general rule, these manufacturers are making such great liners that the durability has just been increased over the years. We're seeing a lot longer usage or even higher activities, and they're just not breaking down. So, but in that aspect, they get dirty, and that's probably one of the biggest things I see people want to change them out. So Tom's got Osher liners on. Good. Losing vacuum.
And then sometimes it's tricky, like sometimes I get a lot of folks in with this liner, and just positioning of that little ring, sometimes you have to troubleshoot it. And also if you're wearing socks, you gotta get creative sometimes. Sometimes you have to cut the sock in half so that it fits on the bottom part of the residual limb, but without interfering with the seal. But then once you kind of troubleshoot these things, they can be a really, really nice product. So yeah, that's Greg,
No, I agree. And that can be the problem with this liner. And I have heard people saying the ring moving on them. I have heard that on the higher activity level patients. So it can happen. Again, you got to manage it a little bit more, having something that moves. But I've had seen a lot of great luck and success with this. So depending on what you wear too, again, this is a suction type of system, a lot of pin systems out there. And I think again, I'm going to keep going around there. I look at Tom I just hit his pop-up. He's getting good suction with this liner without the rings.
Without the rings, which is great.
Good.
Again, guys, I will stop and say, you know, many people don't really think a whole lot about their liner because it looks like just such a, you know, small piece of equipment compared to the sophisticated technology that you're wearing with your foot and sometimes your knee. But the liner can be just as unique and individual as the rest of your leg. And it's something that if something ain't right, you know, you got to kind of have a conversation with your prosthetist to see, you know, yes, you might be wearing this really fantastic liner with a great brand behind it that makes good products, but it might not be the right one for you. So don't be afraid to speak up about it, you know, because there is, you know, no two silicone liners are alike. Each one is just a little bit different than the gel liners. So
I think that's a great point. Some of the main complaints I hear out there is liners rolling down. So do you get that a lot, Cosi?
I get the rolling down. I get the twisties. That's where they put it on. And usually a lot of times it's the Dawn doffing technique, just teaching folks how to put that on correctly or how to identify when it's getting too stretched out. And that's going to lead us into Ashley's question to know when it's time to replace the liner. So that's another, but yeah, the rolling down part. Yeah. And I've taken I'll be naughty. I've taken a pair of scissors sometimes and trimmed just a little bit because it kept rolling and pinching them. So,
Right. Yeah, that's what happens. So that you always you can't trim too much off.
I go.
There's some devices, Solati Health. We're going to talk about custom liners here and we're 30 minutes into this, but there's custom liners available too. So we're looking at off-the-shelf liners here, and depending on the patient's residual limb, and we all know this, whoever's viewing, I got to reduce that. We can end up in a situation where an over-the-counter or off-the-shelf liner isn't appropriate. Big contractures, bony tibia, large vaginations, scarring, like Cosi said, burn scars. That's where we may step into something custom. And I see somebody posted on here that there was a custom liner out there. And what I like about Solati, this company, they're out of California. I've known Wayne for probably 40 years, aging how long we've been around. You can get this in dual durometers. Pretty much a silicone liner, but they can modify them and design them depending on your residual limb. And that's kind of neat. These guys actually also make a distal cup. So if you've got a real pointy fibula or real pointy transfemoral amputation, where they can make a cup that actually goes on like a distal end pad, and then you can use an off-the-shelf liner with that, one of these smart temps. So they're really thinking it through. I like their theory and thought behind what they're doing. Dual durometers needed if you need like distally really firm and proximally soft, they can do that. So these are available to everyone out there too. You can actually Google Solati Health and you see what these guys are doing. But there's a lot of guys who make custom liners, and I think they're all good. But I really like what these guys are doing with their stuff. So have you had any experiences with it, Cosi?
I know that name, and when you said the distal cup, that's what I was like, that's where I've heard of it. I've had a couple of patients come in with the distal cup.
Yeah.
And that's a really nice little feature. But just reading here, hamstring relief. Hello. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. Right. There you go. It's everybody has.
Well, Willowwood as well as Autobach, a lot of the manufacturers have their own custom stuff as well.
Yeah, sure. That's right, Chris. Good point.
Happens to be brilliant, and I know him. He's wonderful, but they're out there.
So Ashley put up there, what is the distal cup? So like a distal end pad, Ashley. So if you've got a real pointy residual limb or bony prominence, they can actually cast that distal in and make, so if you're wearing, let's say, a smart temp liner, you would put on that distal end pad and then slip your liner on. So to give you relief on that sharper bony prominence. So hope that kind of, it's not like a cup that you put in the bottom of your socket there. And back in the day, there used to be the Silipost had cups, little gel pads you could put distally in sockets, but they would just kind of sit in the socket and get in the way of any expulsion valves and stuff. So I think it's a better option to slip it on, but it is custom and set up to your anatomy. This slide that Paul just popped up, I'm going to try to get rid of my chat box, is a really interesting slide. So this is another Solati Health. I want you to look at this, everybody. This person has a tremendous knee contracture, and an off-the-shelf liner would be very difficult to get this patient comfortable and walking correctly. So I think it's just beautiful work, what they've done here. They can place the foot in the right place. So neat stuff. Again, this is just a custom stuff. So it's 100%, these guys use 100% silicone liners, but what you'll see is, you may still have perspiration issues in this type of device. It's going to prevent rolling down, because one of the biggest complaints I see, Cosi, is people, probably number one complaint is it's rolling down on me. These guys also make some PALs. They're little silicone bars that you could glue to the liners, anybody's liners that are rigid and proximally, and it's kind of like a rubber band. You think about when you stretch it, it just immediately wants to go back. And so if anybody's having roll down issues, we can put the pads on there and use silicone adhesive. That's an option. Or I've had issues with patients that I've talked to with, they may have some real narrow residual limb and real big thighs, and the liner may just not be sized correctly. So just be aware of that too. Talk to your prosthetist.
Sounds good. Ashley's saying she's going to think about getting a distal cup. So Greg, am I looking at this correctly? Did they put a distal cup there for that individual?
So for that actually is just a patient that has a real big knee contracture, and trying to get the foot placed correctly is where you can see that actually was a pin on that liner, that custom liner. So they can do just about anything, is what kind of cool, you know, and a lot of guys can do this in-house too. It just depends on if they're doing it or their workload, or they're having tremendous success because they're great prosthetists and they're using off-the-shelf liners. So, but pretty neat. I think it's just another option out there. And again, when we're talking about liners here, we can go from custom to off-the-shelf Smart Temps to the Silcare Breathes to Millennium, the Unipro. There is a ton. And I know that most prosthetists today in this country are picking the correct liner for you as a user or wearer. They're evaluating you and putting you in something that is probably appropriate for you. But again, you know, if we're driving the bus, and I think I've said that before, to know what's out there is pretty important to see that your outcome is optimized. And having a PT like Cosi down there. So,
Amen. Okay, time for another giveaway. So if you look at the chat box, Jody's going to put the link to our videos/webinars. So the beautiful thing is we do record all of them. So if you miss some or you want to share them with friends, colleagues, etc. So for a starter kit, if you wouldn't mind telling us the first name of the webinar off the link, that would be great. And Jamie will pull from a hat or box or what have you, a winner. And while they're doing that, I just want to note that Beth had a question regarding the pros and cons of socket, like socketless, as in what you're wearing. So pros and cons.
Yeah, I did see that in the beginning. I'm not going to say anything about what just popped up because I want to. The socketless socket, I think we're going to talk about it in 2 weeks with Cosi. We got another, and that'll be part of the presentation. Reduce weight. I think that's the biggest thing. Their biggest promotion I see out there is they're saying the prosthesis is cut, you know, the overall weight of the, whatever that may be, depending on that patient's is reduced by half. So less weight. I think I've got a few patients out there that are wearing them, and they say they're fantastic. I think Tom Alfred's on here, and he's wearing the socketless socket. So I think they're great. I think it's just another very interesting concept for somebody who can't tolerate a lot of pressure, they don't favor having all that suction socket up in your anatomy. So that's kind of interesting. But I think weight's probably the biggest thing, and comfort is where they're going that direction. So.
Yep. Beth says, I'll wait. I was like, yeah, you'll want to come for that one, Beth. Tom says it's much cooler for hot days. Yeah, and I've heard the same from some of my patients who use those sockets as well. There was a question here from, well, actually, let's do the sleeves, and then we're going to hit Ashley's question.
And congratulations, Carol. You've won a travel kit. Woo! So again, please take down my information at the end and shoot me an email with your address. Congrats.
Okay, awesome. Okay, moving on. We're going to get through it all. I think we're doing well. The next conversation is suspension sleeves. And I think, or did I miss that one? Maybe I backed it up. We all wear these. Okay, well, hey, Paul, I don't know. Can we go one slide back? One back. Yeah, right here. Okay, so sleeves. Okay, how many patients out here are wearing a sleeve too? I'd like to see hands on that one. But I only threw one sleeve up here, and I think the IceRaw sleeve is durable. And I think that's what we're talking about when it comes to a sleeve. I know a lot of transtibial patients that tear their sleeves up, and wearing vacuum, there could be issues. So I like this one. The ridges on it, I've had patients say they stay up
Mm-hmm.
better. They're less binding at the back of the knee and your hamstrings, but they're durable. So we're not really and there's a million different sleeves out there, and they can be from, you know, a couple $100 to $50. Again, like I said, your process is going to pick the optimum, what they have the best outcomes with. But I do like the ice straw sleeve. I think that's just bomber. I think Autobach actually puts it on their Autobach sleeve. They make great products as well. What do you think, Cosi?
No, I see all range. And honestly, there's I'm trying to think, two of my more active patients, theirs is a plain black sleeve and it has no logo on it. So I actually don't know what kind of sleeve they use. But yeah, it's I'd say 50% of my patients wear some form of suspension sleeve.
Okay. Yeah, I think just about every transtibial patient I know wears a sleeve. So I don't know. It's about 100% than what I've encountered out there. But
yeah,
again,
the heat for us, usually my patients who are BKs that don't have a suspension sleeve, they just like the supracondylar suspension, or, you know, so yeah. And some of them go that way.
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to talk about that in a couple weeks from now, aren't we? Good. So again, I think just finding a durable sleeve, keeping your sleeves clean. I think this is something that is imperative. A lot of patients that I encounter, they'll keep their liners clean, their press sockets clean. They're using the Vital Fit cleanser to keep it and on the system, and then they don't clean their sleeve, just not thinking, and they end up with some kind of heat rash that these sleeves, because they don't breathe and they transfer and don't really see it. So be aware, to keep it clean. I think that's important with any sleeve. So again, there's a gamut of sleeves out there. Whichever one's working for you that's fine. But so we didn't really put too many sleeves in here, everybody. But I think that's your process. I think his call. So for your vacuum wear, so here's one that is a neat little option. If you punch a hole in your sleeve, and anybody online wearing vacuum, I'm curious. We know what can happen. So I like throwing this sleeve saver stuff. If you're a hiker, 3 participants raise their hand have vacuum. So I don't know if you've ever punched a hole. The 3 raise 4 participants raise their hand. 4, Cosi. 4 in vac. We've had this vacuum conversation.
Yeah.
I just saw a chat last week. A guy's been at 17 years or something in vacuum, and he's like, it's the best. I think if it's 6 people in vacuum, I love seeing this. It's fantastic. But if you punch a hole in your sleeve, you know what happens real quick. And this, sleeve saver is one of those things. You can keep a little piece of this that goes in the prosthetic socket, and it's kind of like fix the flat. That's Cosi came up with that term today we were talking, but it's a neat little deal. Has anybody used it? I punch holes way too much, Carol Baker. There you go. So,
I imagine you are extremely active. So I imagine your sleeves kind of get holes.
So I think it's really imperative to be prepared as the amputee. And having some of this, maybe if I was in back, I would be like, oh, I'm going to have a little bit of sleeve saver in my pack. Having your extra liner, your extra sleeve, all having those things with you so you're not interrupted. The worst thing in the world is punching a vacuum system, punching a hole in your liner, and then trying to hike out if you're 5 miles from the truck. So just be aware. I think this is a neat product. That's why we threw the slide in there. They come in really big rolls. So talk to your prosthetist. They can buy one of these rolls in clinic and probably take care of 50 patients with it. So something to think about, everybody. Cosi, you said you got some and tried it?
I did. I gave it to a lot of my athletes that wear those sleeves, and they just eat holes. I think they just gnaw on those sleeves and they just get holes all the time. So yeah, I was handing that out like candy for a while there.
Great. So it's another mousetrap to fix the problem. So you're not, out of your prosthesis. How much do you attach? It sticks, Carol. How do you attach it? It's sticky, so it'll stick on the socket. So suspension, we initially had a little conversation about suspending. So Cosi was talking about test belts, and so we threw this slide in here thinking I actually use the KnitRite power belts for my skiing prostheses. And when I'm doing that activity or water sports or even cycling, this is just another way to give you some more horsepower to keep that leg on. So there's there's probably more than 2 different companies out there making these suspension or these, I don't know, call it AK suspension belt. Cozy, what do you call it?
I call them all TES belts, and I know that's not necessarily accurate. For me, I'm just like, goes around the hip, hits on the waist, controls rotation. Yep, it's a good belt, suspension belt. Yeah.
They're great, and I think they're great for activity. It's something that I don't know if you're wearing every day. The TES belts are great, but they're neoprene, so if you're in any hot climate, they hotter.
I'm just in my runners, my AK runners, again, to help control that rotational factor and also the not kicking the leg off when they're throwing their leg out in front of them for the run. That's mainly where I see folks wear them.
Yeah, but these are the 2 big ones that are out there. I think they're neat. The Knit Right has been around forever. We've got a lot of guys using these for high-end sports, but just if anybody's encountering problems with your transfemoral prostheses coming off from perspiration, first thing I would be doing is using the liquid to powder, and then I'd be looking at one of these possibly for that high-end activity, which you're doing if you're having suction issues or something. So
yeah, very effective, very effective.
So how do you tell? Okay, good. Thanks, Paul. Anyhow.
You did damn good, Greg.
Well, a couple of little things to talk about. I think that we again, as a prosthetist and a patient, I want to see the best outcome for everybody. And I think that's why everybody's here and watching, and you have so many followers because the outcomes optimized are what we want to see. And I know you agree with that, Cosi.
And again, if there's one thing you all have heard me say on my show a lot is there's no one fit for everybody, and you need to communicate with your PT, with your prosthetist, until you get the optimal solution that's going to let you go about your day without having to think too much about what's going on with your leg.
Right.
So, all right. Does anybody have any questions? It's open season on the PT and the prosthetist right now.
Great.
Ooh, Ashley's question.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah, I told you I wouldn't forget about you, darling. All right, hang on. I'm gonna find it.
Yeah, I'm going back
to it while Chris announces. Here it is. Sorry, took me a minute. Ashley asks, I get 2 sleeves every 6 months when I get my new liners, which I also get 2 every 6 months. I rotate my liners every day. Should I also do that with my sleeves? Or is what I'm currently doing, which is swapping them out every 3 months, okay?
I think you could go either way. I mean,
Okay.
I think I would, I wear suction, so I'm a little different than some of the users out there, but I would say if you're rotating your liner, then I would rotate sleeves too. Because we know that brand new stuff is a little tighter and maybe so breaking them all in evenly is kind of what I suggest.
Yeah, and I would say it could also go either. The devil's advocate to that, Ashley, is if you're 3 months into wearing those 2 liners that you've been rotating and having a fresh sleeve on there just to kind of keep things tight until you get to the 6-month mark. So basically whatever works for your function in terms of your daily life. I do think with the liners, yeah, definitely rotating those daily.
Yeah.
And folks, this is something that occasionally I will run into a patient that only gets 1 liner. So I do always like to mention that during liner talks. When you get your liner, you should be given 2 liners by your prosthetist. One that's washed and being dried, because it does take some time for these liners to dry, especially if they have the fabric. And then one that you're currently wearing. Not to mention if anything happens to one of them, you always have that second one available. And the same thing with the suspension sleeves. That's something that gets a lot of wear and tear every day. So you should be issued 2 every 6 months is approximately the time frame that I see most everybody replacing their liners and sleeves.
That is correct. Yeah. Always bring the backup. That's what I always say.
Yes. Fernando, that's a great question. I actually have somebody I can refer to you to answer that. He says, I'm fairly new to having a prosthetic. What is it? Oops, sorry. David, sorry. I was looking at David's question. Sorry. Is there anything for aspiring wrestlers or jiu-jitsu practitioners to protect the end of the stumps? So David, actually one person you might want to look up, his name is Zach Gowen, Z-A-C-K-C-H is how he spells it, G-O-W-E-N. He was the first amputee wrestler to join WWE. Like,
Oh.
really, like this guy's super cool, right? You can find him on Instagram. So I know that he's an above the knee. He was a childhood cancer survivor, and he lost his leg at a very young age above the knee, and he wrestled without the leg. And I know I've seen in wrestling, I've seen some adaptive wrestling, and they usually wrestle without the leg. And as far as protection for the end of the residual limb, I honestly don't know. I've only seen that they have it covered. So I'm assuming that maybe they wore their liners. Greg, do you know any wrestlers?
Right. I think that's exactly what some of the guys are doing. They leave the liner on for protection. On the distal end, I've seen some suction sockets that we've made in the past years ago for protection, real thin copolymer socket that you pull into that stays on and gives you, I mean, you can literally stand on your distal end with that, or you can have your prosthetist make a protector out of P-Light. There's a million ways to do that, but yes, I think having a protector, I would Google Rustin Hughes, and he is currently one of the top boxing jiu-jitsu champions as a transfemoral amputee. Rustin, let me see if I can find him here. We'll try to put the link up, but pretty neat. But he wears a protector too, but I think it's just his liner. So let me see if I can find his name real quick for you.
Well, he's finding the name. I'm going to answer Fernando's question. He says, I'm fairly new to having a prosthetic. What is the difference between a liner and a sleeve? So Fernando, the liner is it looks like a sleeve, and it's the cover that goes directly onto your skin. That's the first thing that goes onto your skin. Then you put on your socket, right? The hard plastic socket. And then in some cases, not everybody, people will wear a sleeve that goes over the socket and over the leg. Yeah, I hope that makes a little bit more sense.
Right.
They look very similar. The liner is the one that has the end on it because that's where your residual limb goes straight into it. The sleeve is going to be open on both ends, right? Okay, so I hope that clarifies that, but that's a good question. That's a very good question. Cortland, I like your question. That's a great one. Is there any list anywhere of what we should carry with us as backup? Guys, let's make a list right now. Yeah. Let's make a list right now. So I'm going to put my two favorites in. 4-ounce spray bottle. Okay. And terry washcloth. So for my patients here in Florida, this is where I kind of break the rules just a little bit. I have all of my patients using these products because it does help with sweat management. But there are several patients I have that they have to take their leg off during the day, either on their way to work or in the office or something, and they just simply have to clean their leg because it's just sweaty and they have to replace the sock. So I tell them 3-ounce or 4-ounce spray bottle with 50-50 or, minimum 50-50 alcohol and water solution, right? Spritz it on the leg, wipe it down, and make sure it's nice and dry with the terry cloth. And then you wipe the inside of your liner. That's just the quick fix. That's not how you're supposed. Then when you get home, you got to give that liner a good washing. But that's my quick fix. Carry it in your fanny pack, safety pack. So, all right, guys. Greg? What other?
I agree. That's a great one. Having a terry cloth or microfiber towel with you, having your Vital Fit with you. If you're like a suction or vacuum wear, having an extra sleeve, I think that's a big one, especially if you're going away from, home camping or on trips. I suggest bringing, I've had so many suction socket transfemoral wearers forget their pulse sock. So the way we've manufactured over the years, the pulse sock stays in the prostheses. So you're not going. So Allen wrench is another one where we throws in there. I go nowhere without a 4mm Allen wrench because even though your prosthetist, everything gets torqued down and Loctited, things can come loose at the wrong place. I was walking through the airport one and here was a guy, his foot fell off, and I always have my Allen wrench because as an amputee, you're allowed to travel with that. So fix his gait, I'll tell you that. But I think in my pack, I always have an Allen wrench to tighten bolts, and I always have a pull sock, my Vital Fit liquid powder for sure.
Liz says baby wipes for just the quick fix wiping down. Socks. Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah, good one, John. Yeah.
I get on my patients a lot about that, where I'm like, you need to always have socks with you in your glove compartment and your wherever.
Right. That's something we really didn't talk about is socks. And, there's 1, 3, and 5-ply socks out there. And John was out visiting me this winter, and he would be starting in the day with a 5-ply and ended up in a 7-ply. So again, extra socks is great, Cosi. Great one,
And Ashley's got it all. She carries her extra socks, spray bottle with alcohol water, baby wipes. And if traveling, she takes her drying stand, extra liner, extra sleeve in the daily bag I carry. You're missing one thing, Ashley. One thing that I tell my patients that when they go traveling, they need to carry. What's that one thing? Let's see if we can guess what that is. Tom says he uses pillowcases to pull in, but not ideal, but it worked. Okay.
Whatever works, right? You forget it. Good one.
Guys, the one thing that Ashley forgot to put in her travel bag is the shrinker. I always recommend my patients, even if you're not wearing a shrinker anymore, when you travel, right? I know my legs and my cankles get like this big when I travel. So I always take my compression garments with me. And that can happen. Your body will fluctuate when you're in an airplane pressurized cabin, and some of your residual limb might start to puff up when normally it doesn't do that. So I always say, get that shrinker, dust it off, put it in your suitcase just in case you need it.
That's right. Good. Socks, yes. I see that Liz has a way to sweat down. So all little tips from one of the best PTs in the country. Listen to these tips. Really, again, I hope everybody can understand that we're here just to say there's some later technologies, companies addressing perspiration issues, but I think is the biggest problem that I see and patients encounter out there as we increase our activities in the summer months. So I think that's great. Hopefully everybody has some option or learned something tonight. Bring your.
Oh, no, you don't. Wait.
I'm not cutting it off yet. I'm not done.
You can't close out now.
I'm not closing out.
That's her
job. That's not my final.
Oh.
Go ahead, Chris. I'm sorry.
So Jamie's going to put a link, everybody, to a survey. And this is for full-size entire set of all the products. And we really appreciate taking the time to do this survey, because we want to get better and better and better and make sure that we're doing the things that are beneficial to all of you. And so if you wouldn't mind filling out the survey, and then we will let the winner know via email, again, picked from a hat or something. And so thank you. All right, go Greg.
Sorry, I think it was like the closing statement and people jumped up and it's, did you find the link? I posted it, David. I put it in the chat box, Rustin Hughes. So if you Google his name, I don't know if you can see it, Rustin Hughes, Rustin Hughes, Hughes. Google him. Very inspirational, phenomenal athlete. Hats off to what he's doing, I'll tell you. So I don't think, you can look him up on Facebook too. That's where I just found him. So. Yep, there it is. Cosi put it in there too. Fast, right there. I didn't see even your arms moving or your hand. Good. Okay, yeah, look him up, David.
All right, so thank you, Greg. Thank you, Cosi, so much. We hope you found tonight beneficial. If you've got any questions that you think about later, just shoot me an email. Paul Sewell's going to throw up a couple of slides before we get in closing here. So for everybody that didn't win tonight, no worries. If you look at the Liner 20 code, that's going to give you 20% off your next order. Just go to our website. And we are now streaming on Facebook, so we appreciate you sharing, liking, etc. To all the Twitter and Facebook and TikTok and all that good stuff. I'm going to embarrass myself if I go any further on that because I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, next slide. We talked about Cosi. Hey. Wednesday nights, live Facebook, everything limb loss. Her show rocks. She's got major manufacturers, amazing speakers, and we appreciate everything she does for the community. So check her out, Wednesday nights, Facebook.
Awesome.
And lastly, this is my email address. and the phone number. So reach out for those that won tonight. Congratulations. We'll get you your travel kits and anything that's on your mind. So we've got Cosi and Greg and a team of people that are here for your support. So just give us a shout out. And again, thank you so much for participating. And thank you, Greg and Cosi.
Thank you guys. Have a
Thank
great
you.
day.
Thanks for showing up, everybody. Thanks, Chris. Thanks to Vital Fit to keep these going. So thanks, Cosi.
Bye, guys. Thank you, Greg.